if there are ifs, buts, abeyances held in, suspension, any type of nomenclature, literature, fancy language, grammar, or any other language can be thought of, can be coughed up, can be vomited. But it doesn't change the fact that a country which goes against a treaty that it signed no less than by one of the founders of independent India, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Pakistan's president on the 19th of September 1960, that no country which wants to function in the world as a, forget law-abiding, as a reasonable country would ever think of doing that. So then, the question that comes to our mind is, how is India able to get away with it? It is because of the state of the world. It is because whatever you call it, whether you call it rupture, whether you call it reordering of the world, whether you call it a breakdown of the world order, whether you call it normalization of the impossible, but we all know that the architects of the previous order currently are no more the architects of the previous order, and as it was created, in some ways have not been able to hold the positions that made them the architects. And we also know that the architects of the new order are likely to not emerge from the architects of the previous order. So right now, everybody is in a flux. And there is no one who's here to preserve the international common goods, or what we call the global goods. Preserving treaties, abiding by international law, are common goods. Because today it is Pakistan's water, tomorrow it will be some other country's water. And I think from this very podium, it has been made abundantly clear by not one person but by many, and for, interestingly, people who represent different, if I may say, institutions of Pakistan, the political institution, the military, in every which way, that Pakistan, there's a reason that we ate grass. There's a very good reason that Pakistan had to eat grass. Not because Pakistan wanted to eat grass to be able to get its strategic security, but Pakistan was forced to eat grass to be able to build its strategic security. Why? Because the belligerent, roguish India had shown itself very, very early on. And this is coming from a person who expended a great deal of her time as foreign minister in trying to normalize relations with India, even at great political cost. We normalized trade relations with India because at that time, the India on the other side was the Manmohan Singh India. It was the Nehru India. It was an India which liked to abide by law. It was an India which wanted to go towards peace. It was an India which felt it still existed in the geography of the region that it inhabited. And right now, you have an India which believes it is outside of the realm of international law. It is not even breathing and eating in the geography of South Asia or the broader Middle East or whatever you call it. So it's a rogue state. It's a belligerent rogue state. And as far as India's international standing is concerned, I think I've already said it, so I'm not going to repeat it, but a rule making, a country which aspires to be sitting on the table of rule makers has to at least be rule abiding. And when it takes itself out, it is very clear as to where the brief for India's behavior is coming from. We know there's a country which is currently under trial for ICC and ICJ, and it has said that both institutions don't hold. We also know that there's a country, our neighbor, the belligerent neighbor that we have, which has been told by the Court of Arbitration that abeyance, there's no provision for unilateral abeyance. And guess what our neighbor says? It says the Court of Arbitration is not legal. It has no significance. So it's very interesting when you see it is also, as I've already said, become a denier of geography and a killer of civilization. But most importantly, I think what the world needs to wake up to, as they say famously, smell the coffee and wake up to, is that why is it that the Indus Water Treaty was considered to be a gold standard when it comes to water treaties between an upper riparian, middle riparian, lower riparians, between an upper and lower in the broader sense. Why was it considered a gold standard? Because it was durable, it was predictable, it had a water sharing arrangement which survived 3 wars. When it could survive a full-scale war, one war in which Pakistan even lost part of its, country, when it had the ability, it had the durability, the survival rate to be able to survive something like this, what is the Indus Water Treaty not able to survive today? It is the Modiization of an India which used to be a very different animal. And I think if the world doesn't wake up to this, today it's Pakistan, yesterday it was probably other neighbors, and very soon it will be other countries which will be in its leash. And the last thing I want to say, because in my very, very sort of optimistic view of the world and my neighborhood, because I believe that, I was born in 1977, so I was the first foreign minister who was born after 1971, and I was like, we were done with this hostility, it's over. This is what we thought when we were dealing with India. And we thought at that moment that climate change is going to be one thing, make these countries forget their long-seated, violent past and animosity for each other, and be able to close these countries together in living a common future, in preserving the environment and the waters for the common future. And within that context, I think most of us do already know that amongst the most, when it comes to melting snow and ice, the Indus Basin is one of the most in challenge all over the world. So this tells you where we're going. It's not a pretty picture from what it's looking like where we are right now. And if this goes unmitigated and unstopped, then I think what we're doing is carving out the space for a continuous hegemonic country which has been shown its place in the battlefield, may I say, very clearly. But I think it is important for other countries to play their role. And here I'm going to specifically call out on the European countries who have always held themselves as the preservers of law, So with that, let me just congratulate once again all the panelists. They kept their time, and they were all very, very specific. And thank you all for your time.